Imagine handing a guy in a truck a check for $8,000 just because he looked at your basement wall for 20 minutes. That is exactly what happens every single day across the country, making the foundation repair industry an $11 billion a year giant. They thrive on your panic. You see a crack in your wall, you immediately imagine your whole house caving in, and you blindly pay whatever massive number they scribble on their clipboard. But what if I told you that the entire business model of these expensive repairs relies on one massive secret? These guys are not performing complex engineering miracles in your basement. They are charging you what is essentially a massive information fee because they know something you do not. That expensive contractor is going to walk out to his truck, ignore his fancy tools, and pull out a basic 10-pound bag of powder that costs exactly $15 at your local hardware store. Today, we are tearing down that wall of secrecy. We are going to walk through 5 of the most common foundation problems that professionals charge hundreds or thousands of dollars to fix, and I am going to show you the ultimate household hacks to solve every single one of them yourself. The total cost for the materials to do all 5 of these repairs is under $60 at Home Depot or Walmart. By the end of this, you will never look at a crack in your wall the same way again, and you will keep thousands of your hard-earned dollars right where they belong, in your own pocket. The core secret to beating these expensive contractors is understanding the magic material they all use, which is called hydraulic cement. If you try to fix a crack with standard cement, you are going to fail miserably, and here is exactly why. Standard cement shrinks as it dries and cures over time. If you pack it tightly into a hole, it will eventually pull away from the edges, leaving a tiny gap where water will easily sneak right back into your house. Hydraulic cement does the exact opposite. It is made of a special mix of Portland cement and calcium silicates. When you mix this powder with water, it triggers a powerful chemical reaction called hydration. Instead of shrinking, this material actually expands as it hardens. It pushes aggressively outward against the solid walls of the crack, locking itself in place permanently at a molecular level. It works so incredibly well that it can even cure and harden completely underwater without washing away. A standard 10-pound bag of this incredible stuff costs just $15, and a massive 50-pound bag is only $27. With just one $15 bag, you have enough material to permanently seal multiple cracks across an entire basement. The contractors know this chemistry inside and out, but they bank on the fact that you do not, allowing them to charge you for a miracle when it is really just basic science in a cheap bag. Let us dive right into the first major fix, which is dealing with standard foundation wall cracks. If you call a professional for a basic crack the width of a pencil, their national average service call will run you anywhere from $250 to $800 per crack. Remember, this whole process takes them less than 20 minutes of actual labor from start to finish. To do this hack yourself and save that cash, you need that $15 bag of hydraulic water stop cement and a simple tool called a cold chisel. The secret technique here is creating what is called a dovetail undercut. You do not just slap the wet cement on the surface and hope it sticks. You use the chisel to gently chip away at the crack, making it about 1/4 of an inch deeper and safely angling it inward. You want the crack to be slightly wider at the back than it is at the surface, shaped exactly like a dove's tail. Why do we do this? Because when that hydraulic cement starts to expand, it will push against those angled walls and physically lock the patch inside the concrete forever. If you just leave the crack straight, the expanding cement might actually push itself right out of the wall onto your floor. Once you have your dovetail shape cleanly cut, you must wet the crack with plain water, because wet concrete actually creates a much stronger bond with the new mixture than dry concrete ever could. Now comes the actual mixing and application, and there are serious safety rules and scientific facts you must follow for this hack to work perfectly. First, you must mix the powder and water slowly until it reaches the exact consistency of thick peanut butter. If you make it runny like soup by adding too much water, you will ruin the final compressive strength of the patch. Every single extra drop of water weakens the final cure. Second, you must absolutely put on thick rubber gloves before you even think about touching the wet mix. Hydraulic cement contains caustic compounds that will literally dissolve the outer layer of your human skin if you leave it on your bare hands for too long. With your gloves safely on, you take that peanut butter-like cement and firmly press it deep into the wet crack using your fingers. You have to hold steady, firm pressure against the patch for exactly 3 full minutes. While you are holding it, you are going to feel the patch getting physically hot. That heat is the exothermic hydration reaction taking place, the exact same chemical magic that holds up every major concrete structure on the planet. After those 3 minutes, the cement will hold itself securely in place without falling out. After 24 hours, it reaches most of its structural design strength. And after 30 days, that $15 patch will literally be stronger than the original concrete foundation surrounding it. The second fix tackles the absolute scariest problem a homeowner can ever face: an active water leak where water is literally flowing through your wall in real time while you watch. This might be happening right around a pipe penetration or a leaky floor-to-wall joint. When people see water pouring in like that, they instantly panic and call an emergency contractor who will easily charge between $300 and $600 just to stop that single active leak. But you do not need them to save your house, because the ultimate hack for this is the exact same $15 bag of hydraulic cement, just applied using a completely different strategy called the plug method. Instead of mixing it normally and spreading it with a flat trowel, you mix it and knead it aggressively in your gloved hands until it forms a very stiff, hard ball. You hold that ball of cement in your hand and wait patiently until you feel it start to get warm from the chemical reaction. The very moment it gets hot, you take that ball and smash it directly and violently against the active water source. You push hard and hold steady, heavy pressure for 3 full minutes. Because this material is specifically designed to work underwater and expands outward as it cures. It will force itself into every single microscopic void around the leak. The active water flow will stop completely right before your eyes. You just saved $600 in 3 minutes with your bare hands. The third fix is for basement wall seepage, which is when moisture pushes through the solid concrete itself even when there are absolutely no visible cracks to fill. Your walls will feel uncomfortably damp, and you will notice a strange, crusty white powder building up on the surface of the blocks. That white powder is called efflorescence. It is simply water-soluble mineral salt that gets carried through the tiny pores of your concrete by ground moisture and is left behind when the water evaporates into your warm basement air. When a contractor walks in and sees this white powder, their eyes immediately light up with dollar signs. They will use it to scare you into buying a full interior waterproofing system, quoting you a massive bill between $2,000 and $7,000 for digging indoor drainage channels and installing sump pumps. But unless your basement is actually flooding under inches of standing water, you can solve this annoying seepage issue yourself with a simple chemical and paint hack. The total cost for the materials to do all 5 of these repairs will cost you less than $40, completely removing the need for loud jackhammers, ugly plastic wall panels, or massive construction crews tearing apart your home for a week. To perform this incredible seepage hack, you first have to deal with that nasty white salt powder. This is the critical step that most everyday homeowners skip, which ruins the whole project. If you just grab a brush and paint over the efflorescence, your new waterproof coating will bond directly to the loose salt instead of the solid wall. And the very next moment it gets wet, it will peel right off in huge strips. You need to buy a quart of muriatic acid from the hardware store, which costs about $8. Dilute it very carefully with water, exactly 10 parts water to 1 part acid. Using a tough, stiff wire brush, scrub the acid mixture over the white powder to dissolve it completely. Rinse the wall thoroughly with clean water and let the concrete dry out completely. Once the wall is perfectly clean and dry, you are going to apply a special masonry waterproofer called Dry Lock. 1 gallon costs between $23 and $27 and easily covers up to 100 square feet of wall space. This is not normal house paint that just sits on top. The chemistry of Dry Lock allows it to actually penetrate deep into the microscopic pores of the concrete, blocking the water securely from the inside out. You use a stiff masonry brush to aggressively push the thick material into those pores. You apply 2 thick coats, making sure to brush on the second coat before the first one has completely cured. Just like that, you have defeated a $7,000 quote for the cost of a cheap dinner. Moving on to fix number 4, we have dangerous mortar joint failure in block foundations. If your home is built with old cinder blocks, you might notice the white lines of mortar between the heavy blocks starting to crack, crumble, and turn to fine dust on the floor. In the professional construction world, fixing this specific issue is called tuck pointing. If you hire a professional crew to do it, the standard industry pricing is absolutely shocking. They will confidently charge you between $8 and $15 per linear foot of mortar. If you have just a simple 10-foot section of bad joints, that is $80 to $150 gone instantly. If your whole basement needs touching up, you are looking at $400 to $800 extremely fast. The hack to avoid this highway robbery is a brilliant product called premixed mortar repair that comes in a simple, easy-to-use squeeze tube. It costs exactly $8 at Home Depot and works perfectly in any standard, cheap caulking gun. All you have to do is take your chisel, scrape out the loose, damaged mortar to a depth of about ½ an inch, and spray the joint lightly with a little water. Then, you just squeeze the new mortar right out of the tube into the empty gap and smooth it over cleanly with a gloved finger. They charge $15 a foot because they assume you do not know this $8 tube exists. The fifth and final money-saving hack is for those annoying concrete floor cracks. Almost every older home has a crack running across the basement floor that seems to get slightly longer and uglier year after year. As long as the floor is totally flat and not shifting up and down, this is an incredibly easy DIY project. If you call a pro out to your house, they will happily charge you between $500 and $800 just to seal a standard floor crack. But you can skip the expensive middleman by picking up a bottle of self-leveling concrete crack sealant. A bottle of Quikrete brand sealant costs just $7 at Walmart or Home Depot. This stuff is absolutely brilliant because it requires zero technical skill and absolutely no special tools or messy trowels. You simply clip the top off the plastic bottle and pour the liquid directly into the open crack. Because it is scientifically designed to be self-leveling, gravity does all the hard work for you, pulling the material deep into the gap and creating a perfectly flat, smooth, waterproof surface. It dries enough to safely walk on in just 4 hours and is completely and fully cured in 24 hours. You just erased an $800 professional invoice with $7 and about 5 minutes of easy pouring. Now, to be incredibly clear and honest, as much as these household hacks will save you thousands of dollars, there are specific limits you must respect for the ultimate safety of your home. Hydraulic cement and cheap sealants are absolutely not structural support tools. If you look at your foundation wall and see that it is physically bowing inward under the heavy pressure of the dirt outside, that is a massive danger sign. That requires professional carbon fiber straps or steel beams installed by a licensed structural engineer, not a $15 bag of powder. Furthermore, if you see long, scary, horizontal cracks running straight across the middle of a cinder block wall, that is a severe structural warning sign that the wall might eventually fail and cave in. Do not try to plug that yourself. Get a professional inspection immediately to protect your family. Finally, if you have a floor crack where one side of the solid concrete is physically sitting higher than the other side, or the floor is noticeably sinking into the ground, you have a moving soil problem underneath your house. These specific structural issues require heavy machinery and real engineering. But for everything else, the minor leaks, the damp walls, the basic floor cracks, you are completely capable of handling it yourself safely. When you sit down and add it all up, the reality of the foundation repair industry is truly staggering. Professional contractors are routinely charging hardworking homeowners between $200 and $8,000 for these 5 exact jobs every single day. Yet, the raw materials they are actually pulling out of their trucks to do the work cost under $60 total at any hardware store in the country. The manual labor they do is real, and the scientific knowledge they hold is real, but that massive price markup is built entirely on your fear and your incorrect assumption that you cannot possibly fix a house yourself. They rely entirely on the information gap to keep their businesses booming, but right now, you have the exact playbook in your hands. You know for a fact that a $15 bag of hydraulic cement will expand and permanently stop a leak. You know that $8 acid and $27 dry lock will stop wall seepage forever. You know that an $8 tube of mortar saves hundreds in tuck pointing fees. The next time a contractor tries to hand you an $8,000 quote for a few simple cracks, you can smile, show them the door, and head straight to the hardware store. You have the knowledge, you have the proven hacks, and you have the power to keep your home safe and dry for pennies on the dollar.